back to OPL Super Week, where Xylem Vessels collapsed at the very end of a game and TRIWIN just fell short. However, guys, we do have a social media contest we're going to bring up onto your screen. During every night of Super Week, we are going to drop a secret code word. And you have to collect all three of them. Cannot stress that enough. Tweet them at us tomorrow night at @lol_Oceania. I was very obvious yesterday, not so obvious tonight. So let's just get that one out of the way, move on to this one. Want to go back to this series because we have a lot, it's the OPL Legend match, and we have a lot of people playing like legends. I feel like Tally in the top lane was playing like a legend. I feel like Jake Soraka like a legend. I also feel Wizard had a pretty good game. Not legend status, but, you know, the River player is finally
He's
moving
the
up
best River player in the OPL spawn.
Yeah, he certainly is. So, what I actually want to get into in this game is the drafts were very different from each other. One was a poke comp, siege comp. The other one is a big team fighting comp. Do you think they tried it once again, try and just throw a spanner out there? This was obviously a pre-planned composition. Nearly worked. Do you think that they have something else here, Atlas?
Yeah, and I think they need to have something that's a little bit more flexible, maybe. We heard it spoken time and time again when we were listening to the cast, of course. Everyone's saying this is like a house of cards. You get rid of one portion of it, the whole thing falls apart. And I think with the way that TRIWIN were playing, where they were getting themselves caught out just a little bit, especially towards the end, which really cost them the game, maybe just make sure that you're not that dependent on having 5 people there together.
I hope they have something else because they did throw that spanner in the works, and it worked for quite some time. It was disrupting and disorientating TRIWIN. But they were able to remove that spanner after some time and fight back the way they normally do.
Yeah, they certainly were. The other member that I want to focus on from TRIWIN's end is actually their jungler Impaired. We heard from him before the game. He got Nidalee in that game, performed relatively well, stayed in Cougar form for maybe a little bit too long there at the end. But what did you make of his performance? Is that the Impaired that we expected to show up? Is there more to him? Is there less? What did we make of that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit unimpressed, but he still played a great Nidalee. The only problem is, right, he hard carried. In the game that TRIWIN had against the Direwolves, where they managed to sort of sneak in that victory, 10, 3, and 9, something ridiculous like that, really went off on the champion. This wasn't necessarily the hard carry performance that he was expected to have, and this is the champion that he shouldn't get, ever. Flat out.
Well, Frostgren did mention that in the States, it's cats that normally eat the spiders here. But even as I'm learning here in Australia, it is the spider that comes out on top, and that's what happened in the end of the game for Legacy.
Yeah, it certainly did seem to be the case, and it is a very strange matchup because you have Elise on one side that is a very good proactive jungler, and Nidalee is actually a very good counter jungler. So what you want is actually to allow Elise to make the first move, but you need to have enough wards. The fact that Carbon got ahead with the Tracker's Knife, I feel, actually set him up for very good stead because it meant that was never going to be the case, and Impaired kind of started on the back foot. With all that aside, isolating the mid lane, Choo Choo's didn't have the best game, but in the end scaled up on Victor. What can we expect out of Aaron? He's an amazing player, but it seemed that he didn't get quite the control over that game that he would have liked to.
Yeah, and this was sort of an uncharacteristic game out of Choo Choo's as well. I mean, missed a Chaos Storm actually in the early game on Addition, which is definitely not something that you'd expect. Was still playing absolutely fine, but Wizard did okay, getting around the map more especially. So having Aaron there in the mid lane, getting the work done, that was fine, but he wasn't all that proactive. He was sort of there just clearing out minion waves. Looked like he was, oh no, I'm on Victor duty. Now I'm just lasering stuff. This is not exactly what I want to do, but managed to get it done in the late game.
Well, you mentioned that almost every time that Wizards got a lane, he's down in CS, and it was true in this game as well, and he becomes that sort of river champion where he roams around, picks up a lot of kills in the mid game. I really want to see if Choo Choo's can actually shut him down during the laning phase. Not just get a 20-30 CS lead, but actually shut him down in the mid lane and make sure he can't get to that stage where he can't roam around anymore. That would be a true tale for me.
Yeah, the problem is, right, Wizard gets shut down every laning phase. Like,
he just bounces back.
I don't know how. He's made of like some sort of weird rubber. I don't know what it is. He's a wizard. He just gets it done. It's just what happens.
Yeah, he certainly does. And, this is certainly a game that I was very surprised about. In fact, a lot of this game actually looked like it was Carbon trying to rein in 4 people on his team.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation during the preseason that Tally, very young player, Regret, King, both young players, can Carbon rein them in? It looked like it took 40 minutes, and he finally did, but that was a nervous game for Legacy.
It was a nervous game for Legacy, and I think Atlas was it Carbon trying not to be too much of that disappointed father in that game? Was he trying to calm Impaired down a little bit?
I don't think it had anything to do with it. He couldn't think about, like, it wasn't about him being, like, dealing with these kids that were, like, his old kids. No, he's got to deal with the kids he's got currently. Like, Jesus, don't forget about your other family, man. Like, you got problems at home. So he had to deal with that Fortunately, one of the children had to grow up. It was Tallywhacker in the top lane, or just Tally now. I, of course, affectionately remember his old name. But he was definitely playing fantastically, able to just dominate through. So the Poppy had insurance. So thankfully, Legacy were able to lean on that and carry them.
He was like the oldest son. Carbon put money in his trust fund early.
Yeah.
He went on to college, came out the other end, and carried the game for them. But we'll see whether he's able to make it work in game 2, because we are about to get into it with Pastry Time and Frosty and Frostgrid.
Thank you very much, guys. We are going to get ourselves into game number 2. Frostgrid is dancing. Frosty's having a good time. It's been a great first game there and a great super week. But Trident made it awfully close, but could not close the deal.
Yeah, in case you were wondering why Spawn was laughing as he tried to send it to us, he was watching Frostgrid dance much more enthusiastically than that. Of course, Trident. They did. Yes, Pastry was dancing too, Mr. Producer, in my ear. Sorry for not getting it all right. I forgot what my point was now.
We're talking about Trident. Trident losing to Legacy. It was a little bit sloppy. That's the one thing that I really want to talk about is morale. Like, Trident losing the way that they did, that has to hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if they're going to be able to bounce back.
Well, we'll have to see here. It does start in Champs Late. They've got a little time to calm down, make their picks, and see if they can pick up another honestly strong comp. It was creative with the Siege comp there with the Soraka in Italy, Caitlyn, but they made it work almost up to a point, I suppose. But we are going to swap sides. Trident blue for game 2, Legacy over on the red, and there's Fiora actually banned away. So continuing to target some of Tally's champions.
Feels like red side Tally is a thing at the moment. He's got a lot of counter picks. He can play a lot of champions. And his Fiora is also good as the last pick option for Legacy. They like to flex their mid and top lane. So what they do is they cut off one of the lane's stronger options. Could still be a flex, but they know it won't be Fiora at least.
Well, as Kalista banned by Legacy, so respecting the power of the champion. We know Addition loves to play it as well, so makes plenty of sense if you're not going to be on the blue side, which they did first pick in game 1. They take Kalista out. There's Lulu getting banned, so pretty standard stuff so far.
Yeah, pretty much entirely standard. Of course, the Gragas is the other interesting one, not going for Nidalee again. Still showing that they don't mind if Impaired plays Nidalee, they can just beat him at his own game, which is what they did in game number 1.
I don't know, that was really close.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to count that as we know how to beat Impaired's in Italy. I think that was Trident kind of biting themselves.
Well, there's Gragas there for Legacy, so do take out the strong meta jungler. And 5 seconds means Kog'Maw actually going to get banned by Trident. So don't want to first pick it themselves, but absolutely don't want to give it away to King.
Yeah, I think Kalista being banned signals the Kog'Maw in the response ban as well, so both AD carries taken off the board. Addition probably going to go back to like these Caitlyn maybe as well. King has a much deeper champion pool than just those two, so just the strong champions removed.
And there's Nautilus away from Pac-Man once again. Very good at locking down some of those carries. Very strong tank in the current metagame. But GP is open. Trident will take it.
Yeah, so's Corki. I mean, they've got the entirety of their champions available to them this time around, Trident. A lot of availability for flexing as well, believe it or not, between Pac-Man and Wizard.
Yep. Pac-Man did show us that he can play the Gangplank. Always necessary to flex these strong, powerful picks. As Legacy, we'll see what they decide to do on red side. They knew they were giving away something strong. So a GP picked up, but I'd be curious to see what they take here.
I figured that we're going to see Carbon back on the Elise.
At least Braum, I guess, would be the...
It would be a really safe second rotation.
And always Alistar.
That's not Alistar.
Or Poppy. Poppy's also another big first pick rotation, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Tally's Poppy looking really good, especially towards the end of that game. I don't know what Legacy doing right now, but having some fun.
Yeah.
Tally's messing around. Well, there's Braum locked in. And what's Tally going to change to? We'll see. I'll give him as much time as he needs. Nah, there's Lysandra.
He's having a laugh.
He is.
Of course, they take the Lysandra as one of the champions that Legacy can indeed flex themselves, but away from Wizard. Might assume that it's now the Gangplank mid lane in response, perhaps. Trident could always go for the Corki, though, and flex that with Addition.
You have to question giving 2 comfort champions back-to-back, though, through the draft phase as well as the early rotation. The fact that they gave up Gangplank as well as in Italy. Typically, you'd think that by priority picking the Gangplank, you're making a choice. Wizard or, Wizard's getting his champion, but that means we're going to have to give up Impaired's champion instead.
Yeah, actually taking no jungler at all. So I guess Legacy like to do this, it feels like. It's almost like they want to test themselves, where they're just like, you know what, we'll play against Gangplank and beat it. That's what they did in the early weeks when GP was even stronger in the earlier stages of the season.
Are they the only ones that have the victory with Zed over Gangplank?
Yes. I think they've done it twice as well. We know Choo-Choo's loves to play the Zed, so we'll see if they do opt for that later, but Trident are locking down these picks. It's going to be Nidalee and Alistar by the looks of things. Going to round out picks 2 and 3.
It's just a really good second draft from TRIWIN across the board here. So they've picked up the engage tool that they would need in this composition. Of course, not having Lissandra this time around raises some eyebrows as to what they might go for. Also says to me that they will have a tank in the top lane and that it should be Wizard playing the Gangplank mid though, because they need the double tank combo with just raw damage from the other 3.
Yep. As you can see, Legacy are considering their next few picks. Kings having some fun. We'll see exactly what they end up with here.
Lots of options.
Yeah.
Sivir also quite underrated, just personally. I think she's very good. Might be short range, but it's into a Nidalee comp. There's merit there.
I think Chuchi's just going through all his favorite champions, like give me an assassin.
Well, that's actually like 2014 Chuchi's special right there. Is the Syndra Zed Yasuo bands.
Well, there's the Elise and the Corki. So Legacy are going to settle into some pretty standard picks here. Still flexing the Corki, still flexing Lissandra, and leaving a nice ambiguous counter pick for their final one.
Of course, Carbon performed beautifully on Elise last game. I do think that the decision to gank top or prioritize top as opposed to bottom was a little bit wonky, but he made it count in the end.
Yeah, the kills were there, so I guess that was all that mattered in the end, of course. Spawn even mentioned on the desk how the junglers perform Nidalee against Elise. One's a gank jungler, one's a counter jungler.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes this time around, and if Carbon can get any ganks off without having vision there available for TRIWIN.
Yeah, and of course the other end is impaired. Maybe he can get an edge in the matchup this time and do what we've seen he can do. Gank lanes, carry them, pressure them, and then maybe even kill Carbon, who does love to fight the enemy jungler. TRIWIN, though, do have to round out their team composition. Addition might be swapping it up here. Does look like Wizard's going to get the Gangplank. I think that was fairly obvious, but especially with the Corki being taken by Legacy. And it is going to be Poppy Lucian that rounds them out. A nice, strong draft here.
Yeah, and they actually get the Poppy themselves, knowing that Legacy saved their mid and top lane pick, whichever one they choose it to be, until last. No Fiora available also, so if they opt into having Tally play a champion top, they're limited with what they would want to be. I think it just comes back to Trundle again, or what they do is they keep him on that and they pick something that can now deal with Gangplank mid lane. Unfortunately, Sandra's probably the one that they want to do that.
Well, I could move it there as well, but we'll see what Legacy want to do. Again, very flexible picks here. It's one of the strengths of their solo laners, I feel, is that Tally and Choo-Choos can play just about every meta pick between each other. It's what makes drafting against Legacy so difficult. And they've got good backup already. Braum Elise is a great support crew for Legacy, so I don't think it's going to be Zara, but about 10 seconds left for Legacy to decide on this final pick.
Wouldn't mind Victor again, honestly. But this is also Tally's counter to Gangplank top lane.
You're getting a Quinn, although it's Gangplank mid lane.
Either way.
I guess so.
It's just the counter because you can kill the kegs. Ranged advantage as well.
Makes sense. Wizard's probably not going to play mid lane Poppy, although you never know. No, going to give it Get out. Not give that one a go. Swap it back up. And we will have Quinn for top lane and Lissandra mid there for Choo-Choos. Choo-Choos, absolutely awesome Lissandra player.
It's much more of a 5v5 draft from either's team. TRIWIN stayed true a little bit to their first draft in that it's still very strong in Siege. You've got the Nidalee, you have the Lucian again. Lucian with those double tap passive is actually very adept at burning through towers. And then of course Gangplank is excellent at that. But it gives it more team fighting presence with Gangplank acting as kind of like a pseudo Rumble in how he fights around Dragon and Baron.
Definitely does. It's quite a strong Dragon comp.
Yep.
TRIWIN love Dragon, I tell you that much.
On the other
did a
side,
great job getting them.
Legacy are still kind of a pick-based composition.
Well, again, Legacy, probably not the cleanest game one for them. Likely looking to snowball this one away. They have the champions to get aggressive. And if Kings Vampiric Scepter only Fate's Calls any indication, I think it's going to be a pretty bloodthirsty game.
I think you can default to going in. I think that's the way that Legacy look at this. And it could be an ego thing. I will say I'm surprised Legacy won that first game, but see if it gets the better of them in game 2.
Well, certainly looking for a cleaner game here, probably on both sides, but hashtag TRIWIN for TRIWIN or hashtag LGCWIN for Legacy, depending on who you think is going to take our final game. Will we get a third game and another 6-game night, or are we going to end Super Week just a touch early?
And remember, hashtag IMOPL if you want to tell Atlas and Spawn whilst they're getting into the science of trees that TRIWIN actually has a metal pole on them, so climbing trees isn't that easy through science. They actually have a metal pole to somehow get up.
I like how science backs that up.
Absolute science there, as we are going to see what happens here in this next game. Game 2, of course, is Legacy do find themselves up again after a pretty hard-fought first game for TRIWIN. Let's see the Keystone Masteries there on your screen. Grasp of the Undying everywhere for TRIWIN. Oh, it's Thunderlord City for Legacy.
Yeah, the Gangplank special. Bandit, Grasp of the Undying. And Tally's about to find them all.
I like this. I feel like TRIWIN stole Legacy's invade from the last game. But Tally is in the brush early enough and he'll be able to spot them out. TRIWIN, though, just going to get some vision. Could be a lane swap, could just be for some info, but both teams going to move on to opposite sides of the map and get some vision down.
It's the deepest Legacy invade on 2 sides of the jungle at the same time as well.
Yeah, I like it from Carbon. Just casually walked into their side of the jungle on blue and actually got a nice deep ward down.
Yeah. So he'll start blue and he'll see which one they go to next, hopefully. Or where they start rather and then go to invade the red buff. So Carbon, getting the knowledge of where they will be, can work accordingly on this Elise and does want to gank.
Looks like it is going to be standard lanes, though, as Addition is heading down there. Although, oh, there's Alistar. I lost the purple cow. I was like, where is it?
Pretty interesting to lose a cow. He's rather large.
He's a purple cow.
But Addition will walk past the ward. Legacy will know what's up now, but I think they'll be more than happy with standard lanes this go around. Krugs are going to be started here by Trident, but of course Legacy will start the Gromp on the other side. And we are going to settle into Quinn versus Poppy, actually. It should be quite a nice top lane to watch. As we have Loltai's weighing in, I believe from the last game, I know when that frontline king, that can only mean one thing.
Means he's dead.
Well, that's exactly what it did mean in the last game. We'll see if King has in fact been reined in by his captain and jungler Carbon.
Fantastic use of the Drake song, though.
Oh yes, wonderful. I'm sure there's a parody song in there we can write.
That's how I dance.
Hotline Bling?
Yep.
Do you know all about it, though?
Still too soon. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, back in our standard lanes, you can see level 2 was hit early by Legacy's duo. So, Addition and Jakey actually getting zoned off the wave right now. Good little zoning play there. And Wizard probably not going to have a fun time early on the Gangplank. Lysandra pretty good into melees especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time he goes to last hit with an auto attack, he'll be in range of Lysandra's spells and primarily wants to use the Q to get Grasp of the Undying off Lysandra, which will still mean he'll take damage. So like at every single scenario where he wants to last hit or poke or just get money, resources in some way, he'll lose health.
Legacy in this mid lane matchup certainly have the proactive head start. The one thing about Gangplank that I just really dislike is how long it takes for him to ramp up. He has one of the most expensive item builds in the game, whereas Lysandra has a fairly efficient 2-item power spike, and likewise her level 6 is just so potent.
Yeah.
Not a fan. I understand the Gangplank thing. I understand you can, clear out Baron minions really quickly. The triple cask is incredible. If he hits the barrel on the crit, it's massive, but it just takes him so long to get there.
Oh, another dive in top lane. Pac-Man already used his charge. Great cocoon as Carbon's going to dive in. The damage still connects. He's going to chase down Pac-Man. He's going to get dove down. Nice red buff proc. That should be a killer. Is first blood. It goes to Tally.
That was executed so well by Legacy. Carbon flashing because Impaired is stalking him up the lane. So just gets out safely. And this is, again, they know the lane that they want to camp. They're picking Tally's lane because he's a self-sufficient top laner on this Kun when he gets ahead this time around. Carbon's also the benefactor of experience and gold in his back pocket. And Jungle is doing exactly what we expected of them, but this was honestly executed so well from Carbon and Tally.
The juggle of the tower aggro is just amazing right there. Carbon takes one shot, and they just quickly go back in. Elise has it, and Tally gets out pretty much scot-free.
I like the flash share as well from Carbon just on the end. Clearing a little bit of extra distance, but...
It also helps get his spiderlings on the other side of him. So it's got a protection against any incoming spears.
Good work there from Legacy. Once again, Carbon visits top lane early. Able to get Tally rolling. Serrated Dirk now in his inventory, so we'll see if Poppy starts running into real problems there. We heard about the stats already. Tally's CS at 20 in particular. Pretty incredible over his fellow top laners. But Choo Choo's a little low on mana. Has forced the teleport out from Wizard, who only has got the Sapphire Crystal Longsword action.
Help him CS.
Yeah,
oh
pretty
no,
much.
Wizard.
Choo Choo's looking for it. He's going to get locked up though. Impaired, nice little climb, but no kegs coming out from the Gangplank.
Yeah, he actually queued the keg on 2 health, so he didn't get the blow up. Unable to find it, Wizard, and Impaired being here was honestly just to blow the rest of Choo's mana, who does have a passive, thankfully, on the Sandra to help him farm. Should be fine for now, at least.
can see staying in the lane, regenerating some mana naturally as well. Dorans will help out just a touch. So Choo-Choo's no need to go back just yet, and now has the teleport advantage up in the mid lane in case Legacy do want to make any plays, so should be okay.
I feel like Gangplank is the perfect champion for Wizard. We keep talking about how he's like the god, or excuse me, the legend of the river.
Yep.
But he can't farm. And Gangplank just effectively compensates for this, because even if you miss the farm, you get the extra gold. Or excuse me, when you get the farm, you get the extra gold.
I'm on board with Twisted Fate as well.
Oh yeah. Just get all the gold in there.
Don't even have to be in a river then. You just go between lanes.
I feel like thematically that wouldn't fit as nicely. Like you skip the river as Twisted Fate.
More efficient, honestly.
It
Might
is.
not be thematic.
He draws power from the river, Rusty. I feel like
Oh, right,
maybe
okay.
a Tom Kench player.
I missed that part.
Who
He
solved
draws
it.
power.
I mean, he must.
That makes sense. He should play Tom Kench then.
That was exactly what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Well, river aside, Choo-Choo's is still CSing nicely and building up that lead once again. 15 CS ahead right now. Although Wizard is going to pop down some ticks, get it going. Can't get any extra plundered gold on the backline minions though.
The other big difference is how these two mid-laners will utilize their teleports. Obviously, Wizard has already procced his because it's all about the farming. You see that in his itemization, the fact that he went back, he got a Sapphire Crystal, he gets a longsword. He just wants to sit in this lane and farm as long as possible. That's what the TP was utilized for. Whereas Choo-Choo's has an opportunity where he can use his teleport entirely offensively. Gangplank teleports for a gank. Pretty atrocious. He needs to be down there early. He needs to set up his barrels to do his damage, whereas Lissandra can immediately be there present and throw down the Frozen Tomb.
Well, we know that Legacy use their teleports very well, especially with Lissandra. GP can contribute the ulti, but Lissandra's overall kit much more useful, as King and Regret have a checking with the bottom side. Are doing nicely. We have a bit of a lead as Choo-Choo's actually going to get the blue buff now. I'm going to kite it over to him. Cheers will say thank you very much. Only has mana for one spell. He's going to get the blue and recall though. Does need to spend his gold, so going to lose some time on the buff, but not a huge deal you have to think for Lissandra. And I think that Legacy just up across the board on farm right now. Have that kill, have good farm in all their lanes. Up almost 1,000 gold.
They're up pretty much entirely, and it's just comfortable up as well. Like, no one's forcing anything. There's no big advantages or objectives that they're looking to search for, so just, I guess, scaling. It does kind of do well for GP, getting towards the Trinity Force, but also does things for King, who will have the Trinity Force arguably sooner based off their current farm, and the Rod of Ages for Choo-Choo's, who's well and truly on his way there. So everyone's pretty much content until around the, let's say, 15-minute mark.
And Choo-Choo's actually getting aggressive. Does a significant amount of damage to that turret. He did burn the teleport to make sure it happened, but probably a worthwhile trade there. I have to imagine he's going to continue applying pressure in this lane. And if anyone else comes or a fight breaks out or a gank comes in, Choo will take that tower, no worries.
Tally also tweeted yesterday saying he wasn't aware you max E second on Lissandra. It's like a 5.5 second cooldown at level 5.
Oof. Oh wow, they're going for it. Ambitious perhaps. Ulti used, but that's going to be oranges out. Choo-Choo's will bail. TP burnt by Pac-Man though. As the ulti does get the Spiderlings, I think. Maybe just got Carbon on the end of it. But Impaired's here with the spears. They aren't quite connecting. They are going to keep running in though, Impaired. Able to flash forward and take out Choo-Choo's.
Carbon should not be staying here because he will die to a flash Q from Wizard. Tally, of course, sitting on the sidelines, able to keep them in there. And yeah, they managed to pick up a counter, I guess, counter-engage. Legacy, that was deep. That was super deep.
I don't quite understand what the thought process is as Lissandra trying to lock down Wizard and burst him. You understand that the GP ultimate level 1 is going to do so much damage, especially in that small quarters as you're diving the tower, and likewise you didn't have any information on where Impaired was.
So deep.
Yeah. I feel like after the Cocoon missed, he didn't get the oranges. It's probably time to back away, but Legacy, they do show off one of the perhaps more exploitable tendencies, which is get very aggressive at all stages of the game.
And that's kind of the concern for Legacy for me, is that because they are so aggressive and they are so, again, we'll call it confident, they just try to brute force a lot of these games on their mechanics, and, you know, whether they're taking this one as seriously as they should or, you know, that debate aside, I feel like that is why the Chiefs and the Direwolves still have a very clear chance at the top.
Well, it's maybe getting a bit lonely for Legacy at the top because they're still undefeated. We're going to take another series here But made them work for game one. Legacy are going to have to work for the second game, but Choo Choo's starting to put the hurt on here in this mid lane. That's how it's almost gone naturally. And the mid lane just got ganked. This Carbon needs a spear. Impaired, looking to hunt, repel down. Carbon should back away.
A timely Scuttle Crab presence as well. Impaired 2 levels ahead of Carbon right now, with a bit of extra farm and the kill in his back pocket. This is the member of TRIWIN that you want gold on. And he's got it.
Certainly does. They're going to group back though. Wizard's going to get forced off here.
Oh,
Spear
Carbon.
lands. Carbon in trouble. Cocoon's down. And there's the ulti out from Choo Choo's. Impaired. Maybe going to get this turned around on him. He's going to try and live for a little while longer. Impaired makes a huge play, but barely goes
Carbon.
down as Wizard is going to get the last Q and take him out. But the rest of Legacy are here to answer. Wizard has to do a whole lot of running away here.
Yeah.
And the claw's going to follow. Quinn's in bird form. I don't know if he can get away here. He's going to try and turn things around, but Tally's just going to take him off the rift.
Not going to find the turnaround. And Legacy, they are the ones who turn it around after a spear connects onto Carbon, but basically kites around and baits them for an extra prolonged period of time that he arguably should not have done. And wow, that's just a big pickup here for Legacy.
And again, Legacy coming up in trumps with just their mechanical ability and how good all of their players are individually.
See, the bottom lane's rotated as well, so I guess they'll collect the mid lane farm while it's here. They are going to move back. I'll have to think the first 80 carry items are on the way soon. Rod of Age is actually done for Choo Choo. And Tally got the Ghost Lake components. He has got red buff. Pac-Man going to get the ulti flashed out from him. Charge does land, but Pac-Man looks to be dead here. Tally able to get a nice outplay.
Absolutely not respecting Legacy's top laner right there. Pac-Man goes down. And it was a nice flash though from Tally to ensure he can continue to stay sticky. It was the red buff above all else that he got graciously gifted from Wizard. Comes full circle now. Gives Legacy a kill.
Well, Impaired going to try and steal this dragon away. He does have a ward in there. Spear's good, but it's not quite enough for the steal. Carbon able to smite that one down. First dragon also goes to Legacy, so they're continuing to build advantages. 2,000 gold up right now.
Massive thing, of course, is that mid-tier tower down, so as soon as Choo Choo's can get control of that creep wave, he can start putting his pressure elsewhere on the map.
Yeah.
Carbon going to donate blue over there. Choo's able to pick that up. So again, Legacy just biding their time on the next few purchases. We'll see where they go next. TRIWIN, on the other hand, still need a little way to go to kind of get to item number 1. We do have Ghostblade for Tally and Sunfire for Pac-Man, so those first items are sort of complete. But Trinity Force still on the way for Wizard, and Essence Reaver probably a shop away for Addition at this point. So just trading farm back and forth. Carbon though, little low, it's a spear. Impaired. He wants to go in for it again. The Cocoon does get used, but unfortunately, Quinn and Lissandra are a little too close.
Yeah, exactly. Legacy's laners right now are what is allowing Carbon to be this aggressive. And you would say it's foolish aggression. You're always looking at Impaired like, you can kill him. Just kill him. But every time he wants to go in, he will take probably his life for it. And honestly, Legacy, just because of these laners, looking good.
Instead, just some nice pressure there from from Impaired onto Choose. Let's get him with a spear, but corrupting. Oh no, just biscuits there for Choose. Excuse me, gonna keep him nice and healthy. Again, Impaired currently forced too much here in a straight up gank, but in a counter gank, he's just fine, and he goes in to apply some pressure. But with no mid tower here to farm from safely, Wizard doesn't really have a whole lot of fun stuff happening, especially with Carbon right behind Choo Choo's here towards the blue buff.
They need to transfer this power into something. The fact that Choo Choo's is freed up and Carbon is so strong, as well as the laners winning.
Good pulverize there for Jake. His Addition is going to move back in with the auto waves. Regret takes a pretty big chunk of damage, but Cullen going to get burnt for some extra damage.
But effectively by extending this farm lane, with Choo Choo's just continuously pushing the wave back into Wizard's hands, this is exactly where Wizard wants to be. He just wants to farm anyway. You're just getting closer to the strong gameplay. So this is what I want to see. Legacy finally pulling the trigger and saying, okay, we have control of the mid lane. We can rotate this pressure onto the Rift Herald and do something with this.
Yeah, the aggression they placed mid was just to establish vision. So there was a slower battle, but they do essentially win that war per se, and they get themselves the Rift Herald. Legacy, they're playing with a lot more patience in them, I guess, which is obviously not that evident, but compared to the first game, yeah, pretty evident.
Probably trying to make sure that they don't go a little too far, which they may have done in game number 1. 2 have a healthy lead. It's still building, though, almost up to 3k ahead here. 15.5 minutes in as Pac-Man's going to be forced off top tower. Carbon, oh, goodbye.
And there we go. This is what I was talking about. Again, utilizing Choo-Choo's and Carbon's presence to start taking other objectives around the map. So first it starts with the Herald, and they quickly rotate that to top tower.
Well, is Pac-Man going to try and make something happen? Tower does fall, but impaired here. It's 4v2 as King packages his way out. He valks again. That might be enough to get him out of the hands of Pac-Man, but Pac-Man's going to chase. Good flash there from King's going to keep him safe, and somehow Regret lived.
That was close. Regret, no idea how he got out with his life. Of course, he's still full health, so no focus.
That's all his summoners.
Yeah, no focus on him whatsoever. King's package delivery actually went over Poppy's dash. So they cancelled the dash out with the package. So we know which is prioritized now as a spell. I think Pac-Man's learning with us.
Oh, yeah.
As he tried to do it.
Did he run into a wall?
No, he just went over him.
Oh,
like
okay.
he dashed into the Corki.
Yeah, and
Corki went nowhere.
Yeah, I've seen that one before. It's really funny.
And there we go. Now we have the Quinn counter onto Gangplank lane. And with Tally still having the Rift Herald and so many resources by Trident extended bottom, Legacy gets so much damage and pressure control over that top tier tower.
Yep, and they actually took 2 turrets there, and almost a third, excuse me, with Tally getting the top tier 2 nice and low. So all of a sudden that gold lead still moving forward here for Legacy.
Teleport.
Ulti, maybe going to cut off Jakey, but there's the TP in the backside that you mentioned. It's Choose. Tally's here as well. Addition going to be the first one to get locked down, and he'll be stunned by the Lysandra and taken out by the Quinn. Now Jakey going to get himself tagged. The ulti about to wear off. Quinn in again. King this time with the kill.
And this is Legacy when they turn on the aggression. They've set up the vision. They knew they had a teleport advantage as well. Wizard tries to split push, but struggles with it. And Tally's free to rotate himself, as is Choose. Both of them teleporting at pretty much the same time. This is one of those holes.
And now Wizard's the only one with a teleport. He's going to maybe try and get damage under the turret, but Choo-Choo's up here to defend the wave. And collects a bit of extra farm for himself. Legacy starting to really mount a lead here. 5k up under 18 minutes in this game. Second Dragon's going to be spawning in 50 seconds. And the Phantom Dancer actually the item for Tally.
Yeah.
Full on Duelist mode.
Very unique item choice as well. A lot more people are going for Phantom Dancer since they've changed the move speed to have a passive amount opposed to just running towards somebody. So it's less so of a Vayne passive. And honestly, it's good because you're into Poppy, who doesn't build damage items. Still does a lot of damage, but that's a lot less now as a percentage value because of the Phantom Dancer.
Pressure still on here as well. His Legacy trying to shove with 2. Choose off the Wizard. As now Quinn's going to move in for it. Entombs lands. That's Tally with another kill. Turret goes down as well. Pac-Man, I think, looks to try and get the spider, but he doesn't quite get it with the ultimate. King's moving in. Choo-Choo's even leaping forward. Everyone on Trident has to be afraid. And that's a dead hour start. As Carbon now going to get stunned in by Pac-Man, but he's going to die. Trident is trickling into these fights. And Legacy might even break top now.
They should break top, you would have to say. That's a lot of members dead, and they're not done.
Legacy never done, it feels like, but they will take the tower. Impaired posturing, trying to throw some poke in. But this inhibitor's going to go down under 20 minutes in the game. Trident, you need to pull the trigger now, but they just can't. 3 people dead. Legacy dodging every spear. And a huge shift in momentum.
And they just break the game wide open. Legacy find a point of power, utilize that point of power, and they take everything they possibly can from it. Finally, they go back, but with Inhibitor in their back pocket, my God.
A reminder that this all stemmed from the top, or excuse me, from the middle lane. As soon as that was broken open, everything just started going Legacy's way. Choo-Choo has made quick work around this map in tandem with Carbon.
And Tally as well has been the beneficiary of pretty much all of it. 5-0-2 right now on the Quinn with a bucket of gold to go and spend at the shop. Dragon back alive, Baron up in 15 seconds. Choo-Choo's hitting keg damage, but he'll be just fine. As Trident trying to mount a counter push here in the mid lane.
You would like to think that they could siege mid if you see. They would be aware, Tally is bottom. They wouldn't know that 2 are at the Dragon though. That's the big question mark. So they show respect, they back up. And only now they'll know, but they have to answer bottom already. Legacy definitely on the ball.
And a massive lead all of a sudden. 20 minutes in and Legacy are up 8k. And it feels like it's been a much cleaner second game here for Legacy. I like to call this one the reverse Legacy. Normally, Legacy are very clean game 1s. And then game 2, they go a little too man mode, perhaps.
I feel like game 1 was the Splinter and game 2 is the Branch.
Yeah. Fair. But certainly,
it's a pretty big branch.
Certainly is.
It's like a log.
I had a quick...
It's like a log floating down a river, and it just hits the waterfall, and it just like crashes down.
I believe the general game plan was to push a whole tree onto Trident from Legacy. So
I think I saw that tweet.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. That was good.
we're doing a decent job here. The number of branches continues to fall rapidly. Trident is now trying to defend from this siege, but this tower is not defensible, I don't think. It is for now, but I don't know if once this wave goes and the next one comes, I don't think it is. And Tally is just abusing Pac-Man in bottom lane now on this Quinn. He's so far ahead.
Level 14 to level 11 is pretty much all you need to know about this matchup right now.
Yeah, and that's the big thing as well, having that Phantom Dancer. He's critting everywhere. He's got the double bonus damage, and he's reducing Pac-Man's essentially to his. There is such a major difference between them.
Yep. And now Legacy going to move themselves down to the bottom side. King goes in aggressive. Tucci's going to get punted out though by the Poppy ulti, but Tally's done the damage already. 7 turrets to 0 now for Trident, who without those 2 kills would be on the verge of getting perfected by Legacy.
And it looks like Legacy are going to retain their OPL Legend title match if they continue to close out this way. Of course, much easier to do so than we saw last game Trident trying to do when you have the top inhibitor down at 19 minutes.
Now Wizard is going to try and defend what he can, but Legacy probably just going to run themselves to Baron. Plenty of open room with that top inhib still spawning super minions into that lane.
Yeah, they have to address the top lane, and actually, Imped's done well, to be honest, in this game. So you can't stem any issues for Trident thus far from the jungle. He's managed to stay 30 CS ahead of his opposition. It's just the conflicting styles that Legacy and Trident have got. Carbon ganks, but the ganks have been successful in both games.
Well, Jakey now maybe in a spot of bother. He's going to get ultied out by Brom. Additionally to the zone, cancels the culling, but this could be the re-engage. Choose forced to ulti himself as a regret. Getting low on the backside, Trident able to take him out as Choose pops his on, but he's going to die by the looks of things. Gets a 5-man snare, but it's not quite enough. Wizard able to get the next kill, and King's a little too low. Here comes Tally, though, going to swoop in and take out Wizard. 3v4 here for Legacy.
Tally's
Can
dead.
they turn it around? No, they can't. Tally gets shut down. Addition picks up another shutdown. And now Carbon just has to try and get his way out of here.
He's actually just going to run them around. He's got Dead Man's Plate, and try as he might, we'll see how far Carbon gets on this battle. Actually, he's probably going to live.
Impaired able to chase, though. In fact, Carbon might even turn around and try and kill him. Looks to drink the spear. Impaired waits. Nice play, but now Carbon's going to turn around and fight him. Impaired has to pop back. Does get the heal. Still hunted. Spear's duking.
Mortal
and Impaired
Kombat.
gives it up.
Oh, that's unreal. Okay, so Carbon lives, but the rest of Legacy die, and they were completely mispositioned against a Gangplank ultimate, which is ultimately what killed them for it. Tally finally makes his way in. The saving grace, you were saying, he's got his 3 big items and he's going to be able to kill them all. Stands next to a wall, gets stunned by Poppy and dies. And honestly, that was the undoing of Legacy there. Overconfidence in fighting without their 5-1 top laner, and then overconfidence of their 5-1 top laner who was 5-0.
Saving grace for Trident, however, is they take the team fight, as well as their top inhibitor respawning. But
Whoa, that's
as I say
sick
that,
mechanics from Tally, though. Going to keep chasing down Wizard. Movement speed's good. Tally able to pick him up, but can he get out safely? Of course he can.
Absolutely can. Movement speed is good. Quinn is 1 better than GP in regards to movement speed. Legacy, they were already doing this.
Baron is dead.
Impaired.
Impaired!
Oh,
He
man.
actually spears it. But they do get it. They're trying to lock down the jungler. Impaired in a whole host of trouble. King gonna fire rockets into his back.
Wow.
That one crits. And goodbye, Italy.
That actually was pretty scary. Impaired is level 14 compared to Carbon's level 12, so he had the stronger smite.
I know when that Corky crits.
Well, spear wasn't enough to take down the Baron, unfortunately. And Legacy with the buff will now apply it in 2 different lanes. Tally gonna bring so much pressure down to the bottom side of the map, and Legacy's top, the rest of them, sorry, are gonna just sit top and retake this inhibitor. Fortunately for them, Midwave is being a little bit uncooperative. They might have to go fix that one. They'll retake that inhib though, dragging up in 50, and Tally being very pesky there on the Quinn in bottom side. Gonna bird up once again.
She needs a pigeon skin,
Why?
because pigeons are obnoxious.
You could call it the carrier pigeon as well. It'd be genius.
Just drops mail on you out of Sky Strike. It's like in Harry Potter when all the owls deliver envelopes into the boarded up house.
Mail.
Yeah, just mailstorm. There you go.
It's like the Maokai ultimate, but way better. The Vengeful Mailstorm.
Yeah, Vengeful Mailstorm. Yeah, that's what it's called, right? Postman Maokai would also be good.
A Harry Potter Maokai skin would be so excellent.
Harry Potter character would Maokai.
The tree.
Of course.
The Whomping Willow.
Well, fight breaks out. Regret kind of gets moved back into the team very far. As Jakey does a nice job. He is going to die. But Choo-Choo straight into the middle of the team. Pops the ulti, pops the Zhonya's, and Tally now going to move in to clean up these kills. Got a big broom this Quinn. He's going to play Janitor. As Calvin gets a different double there. King taking out Alistar and the turret. And now Tally's going to work on this as Legacy. Just going to take the rest of the base and probably the game.
Yeah, the battle on multiple fronts here, Legacy. They've asserted their dominance over the former sister team. It's only a matter of time, you would have to say, with all of these minions crashing. That's a lot of minions until Legacy can close this out.
Getting aggressive for it. He wants it. Last auto's good. Shut down onto Lucian. And Legacy going to clean out the rest of the structures. A clean 2-0 and a much better game too. They'll sweep Trident and retain the OPL Legend title.
And the branch drops is the easiest way to describe this. They come into the second game, Legacy. They kind of hit another level with the way that they were playing as a team this time around. I'm going to say it was respect that they well and truly gave to the Trident roster, and it was deserved. Trident played well.
That is the first place team in the OPL.
Yeah, and that's the way they should play there in game two. Very few mishaps in that last game. Game one, of course. We'll talk about it later, I guess. But let's hear a bit more from that game and the sweep from Legacy as they retain the Legend title. Let's go back to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Patriot Time. I also am finding it very difficult to talk tonight, so I feel your pain. However, Legacy do retain their OPL Legends title with a 2-0 against Trident. This was very similar, I feel, to the Direwolves games that Legacy played, where Game 1 went for an extended period of time. Game 2, they come onto the Rift very focused and just completely run a train on the other team.
Yeah, and what I really, really like about that as well is the fact that that wasn't what it looked like at the start of the season. At the start of the season, it was very decisive game ones and then floundering, not really understanding how to play game two, getting a little bit cocky. Whereas this time around, the game two, looking okay. Maybe work on the game one, and then we'll be all right.
I like how you drew the similarities to the Direwolves here, because the Wolves, you know, they drop a game, then they look hungry as the pack, and they hunt together, and they pick up the next two. However, this just looked like a Whomping Willow. You get it angry, it just smashes you right off the block.
Yeah, it certainly did. So in the end, we do have a very decisive 2-0 there. One person I do want to focus on is Choo-Choo's. You know, we made a cry out to him, do something in that mid lane, try and control Wizard. Wow.
Yeah.
No river gangplank.
Yeah, well, look.
Didn't exist.
Wizard...
This time he fell behind.
Well, again, he fell behind, but there was just no coming back from that. Choo-Choo's Lysandra is one of the best I've ever seen. He's so, so good at that champion. Always able to eke out so much damage. You saw, even when they got caught out and destroyed, honestly, Legacy, there was like that one fight that Trident looked good at. That was a 5-man Ring of Frost. You don't see 5-man Rings of Frost. That was just hardcore out of Choo-Choo's. The guy manages to get everything out of the champion. Beautiful to watch.
Choo-Choo was great. He did exactly what we said that he needs to do in order to shut down this Wizard in the mid lane. He couldn't become that River Wizard. In fact, he was not even a River Pirate in that game.
He wasn't much of anything.
Yeah, he wasn't that much of anything in that game. And that means that Legacy do take it 2-0, guys. As we take a look at what the results for the day, it was also Sin picking up the 2-0 victory over Direwolves in a surprise upset. And then OPL Legend match was Legacy versus Trident, where Legacy retained their title and also a very, very nice record in the OPL. Tomorrow, we will have Chiefs taking on Sin, which is now a very interesting matchup to round out top 4, before Hellions will take on Infernum to close out Super Week. Let's take a look at the standings, however, because the games tomorrow now have huge standings implications. You can see that Hellions and Sin are equal. And if the Direwolves drop their game to the, if Chiefs drop their game to Sin, they also are able to clinch themselves into that third place spot. Race for playoffs very much heating up. Unfortunately, now Trident are down towards the bottom of the table one more time after what looked like was going to be a resurgence in the team. But that is all from us tonight, guys. That is second day of Super Week under wraps. Day 3 will be here, though, tomorrow at 6 o'clock. You're not going to want to miss it.